Chapter 21. Immovable. Even if Lynn were witnessing her parents risen from the dead, she wouldn't be more stunned than Einar's words have left her. Her mouth opens and closes without a sound, like a beached fish gasping for breath. "Is that not what you wish to be called?" Einar asks, his eyes boring into her. "Is that not the goal you seek? That all might someday call you Empress of Time?" How do you know me?" Lynn stammers. It's the first time Sophia has seen her flustered like this. "I know many things about you," says Einar. "I know that you were the daughter of Chinese ambassadors. I know your parents were murdered for crimes they did not commit. I know you have loved. I know you have lost that love. I know it is your goal to control time, and thus to control all of history, past, present, and future. The information most relevant to our meeting today, however, is this. I know you are an enemy." "How can I be your enemy?" Lynn replies. "We have never met." "I did not say you were my enemy," says Einar. "Although yes, indirectly you are. Even more importantly, you are the sworn enemy of the one who mends time again." Lynn's eyes narrow into slits. She remembers the phrase from the poem Einar left at the North Cape, and she does not care for it one bit. The one who wants to control time will never peacefully coexist with the one destined to fix it. Sophia uses the pause in the conversation to ask, "And who is he? Or she? The one who mends time, I mean." Einar replies, "That is an answer I cannot give, for I do not know his name, nor do I know what she looks like. You see, I do not even know if the one is a he or a she. There is only one person, another immovable like myself, who knows the full story, who holds all of our knowledge, and she lives across oceans. All I can tell you is that the one who mends time was written about long, long ago." "So it's some kind of prophecy?" Sophia asks, hoping for clarification. Einar shakes his head. "Not prophecy, history." "But how can that be?" Lynn demands. "I am only 27 years old." "Yes, you are," Einar agrees, "and yet, in another sense, much older." "More riddles!" Lynn shouts. She slams her fist on the table. "I am tired of your games. Give me answers." "You shall have them," Einar replies, "but only the ones I know, and only the ones I am entitled to give." "Tell me about the relics," Lynn demands, cutting straight to her important business. "The relics are as ancient as humanity itself," Einar explains. "Where exactly they came from, I am not sure anybody knows. But in the earliest days, the immovables understood the power they contained. Even individually, they have significant effects on the people around them. They make time unpredictable. But when they are brought together as they were meant to be, their power can be controlled and used. We immovables realized the danger this posed. Quite simply, this is too much power for one individual to possess." As he speaks the words, he peers meaningfully at Lynn. "Perhaps we should have destroyed the relics altogether, and so also the Antikythera device itself. But doing so, we feared, would create innumerable fractures in time and space. Besides this, the immovables also believed that, someday, there would come a person who could fix time, and the relics must be preserved for that to happen. So instead of destroying them, we hid them." "But if you want to keep the relics hidden, why put the hallowed vaults in places where there were lots of people?" Sophia asks. "Like Las Vegas and that museum on the North Cape." "That isn't how it was intended originally," Einar answers. "There is a complicated history involved in this, but it would take too long to explain the whole thing, so I will give you the short answer. You see, When the relics were first dispersed, they were taken to isolated places. They could not be too isolated, however. Like anybody else, immovables need food and shelter and the company of other people. Over time, isolated places often became more populated. Instead of trying in vain to keep people away from the vaults, we decided to camouflage them, hide them in plain sight, so to speak. The altar at the North Cape is one example. Nobody would ever suspect that, hidden beneath a room visited by thousands of people each year, there was a treasure of priceless worth. Thus, we could preserve the relics until the time came for time itself to be fixed. But, time is broken? What do you mean? How? Stammers Sophia. Time is not what it was meant to be, Einar answers. What it used to be. I do not know much more than that. What I can tell you is that all these rips in time are not natural. The sudden disappearance of humanity a few years ago is not a natural product of the universe. Yet such things have been happening throughout history. The sudden disappearance of the Mayans from Central America, or the people of Roanoke Colony, who vanished without a trace. These are but two examples. Throughout history, there are hundreds, possibly thousands of stories about people disappearing, never to be seen again. I heard it might have something to do with space-time being fractured by the sun, Sophia says. Was that wrong? Perhaps not entirely, Einar replies. Intense activity from something as large as our sun could serve as a catalyst, disrupting an already agitated environment. Like when you have a pot of water or a tea kettle. He motions to the one in front of him, on the cusp of boiling. Stir it with a fork or a spoon, and that tiny bit of extra energy can send it into a boil. Days before humanity disappeared, the headlines were full of articles about solar flares larger than any we had seen before. So yes, your theory does make some sense. Then why did so many of us slip forward to this time? Sophia asks. What do you mean? Einar inquires, puzzled. Me and Lynn and our other friends, we all come from different places and different times. But when we slipped through time, we all ended up alone, in November 2026. Why? Einar stares at the tabletop, considering her question. After a bit of thought, he says, I am sorry, I do not know. My best guess is that when humankind slipped away and disappeared, some sort of vacuum or imbalance was created, which pulled you in to fill it. Or at least to fill part of it. But it is only a guess. And why, asks Lynn, didn't you disappear along with everybody else? Why are you still here? As I have already mentioned, says Einar, the relics, even by themselves, have tremendous influence on the people and environment around them. But there are certain people, and I am one of them, who are, for some reason, unaffected. Maybe it is something in our DNA. Maybe there is something supernatural behind it. I don't know. But we are completely unable to move through time. We are immovable. We stay where we are, when we are, which makes us the best candidates for guarding the relics. Can I ask something else? Says Sophia. The old man from the map room in Las Vegas tracked us down and tried to murder me and another boy. He was ready to kill us in order to stop us from finding the relics. Einar frowns and says, Poor Leroy. He was the best of us. A gentle and capable fellow, if you'll believe it. But the isolation must have been too much for him. Being alone for so long can do strange things to a person's mind. But why aren't you trying to stop us too? Asks Sophia. Isn't that your job? Einar leans forward and narrows his eyes. His tone is deadly serious as he says, Where did you get the idea that I will not try to stop you? The relic is for the one who mends time, not for the one who seeks to make herself ruler over it. Once this conversation is over, I will suggest that both of you return to your car and drive away. That, Lynn says darkly, is not how this ends, Immovable. The man stares at her, unblinking, as if trying to freeze her with his icy gaze. Then curtly he says, There is one other thing I want to tell you, Lynn Lai, Empress of Time. I want to share what our ancient histories tell us happens to you. Lynn returns his frosty gaze. She does not speak. There is pure loathing in Einar's stare as he continues, saying, They speak of a reckless woman who hurts everyone around her. A woman so consumed with power that in the end, she is swallowed up entirely. A woman who is given every opportunity to walk away from her path of self-destruction, yet makes all the wrong choices. Choices which seal her own doom. Lynn leaps up from her seat to tower over Einar. In that moment, she doesn't appear 5¼ feet tall. She is a wrathful giantess, ready to crush anyone who crosses her. My life will not be determined by your ancient myths, she tells him. There is an unsettling calmness in her voice. I determine the outcome of my own story, and the next page of my story will go one of two ways. With your dead body at my feet, or with your relic in my hands. Einar sighs wearily. So we come to it. The moment I saw you with the girl, I did not think it could be avoided. The much older man stands. The kettle has just begun to whistle as he turns off the burner and says, Tea time will have to wait. Come outside. We will do this behind the lighthouse. If I am about to die, I will do so with the vision of my cliffs in my eyes and the sound of my birds in my ears. As he exits the lighthouse, he snatches his walking stick from beside the door. Lynn and Sophia follow. The former already has a knife in her hand. Sophia is sure the only thing keeping her from stabbing him in the back is the relic. Lynn needs to know where it is before she can kill him. When they are all in front of the lighthouse, Einar faces Lynn. I assume you will be using your knives? Lynn nods. And I will use my staff, he announces, holding up his walking stick. If you beat me in combat, I will hand over the relic to you. If I win, and you are still alive, you will drive away, and you will let Sophia remain here with me. You will leave Iceland, leave your ambitions behind, and abandon your foolish quest to become Empress of Time. Agreed? Agreed, Lynn shouts. In the very same moment, she lunges forward, trying to catch Einar off guard. Sophia cries out, fearing the worst for him. He hasn't even raised his staff. With the deftness of a much younger man, he twirls gracefully aside and out of Lynn's path. As she hurtles past him, he smacks her stiffly behind the kneecaps with his walking stick. She stumbles forward and nearly onto her face. Embarrassed and red with rage, Lynn whips around with a knife clenched in each fist. She comes at him again, slower this time and more methodical. She slices and stabs at the air. It looks again like she will surely skewer him with at least one blade, if not both. But before the knives reach him, Einar raises his staff so that it is parallel to the ground. He catches both blades on it at once, then thrusts the staff's rounded end between them and into the bridge of Lynn's nose. She curses as she drops both knives. Wiping a gush of blood from her nostrils, she retreats a few paces. Will you yield? Asks Einar, offering her an end to the duel. Lynn answers by unsheathing 2 more blades from her hip. These are longer, more like short swords than knives, curved and cruel. Each looks capable of chopping Einar's walking stick clean in half. She advances, thrusting and slashing madly, as if she believes rage itself will be enough to win the fight. This time, Einar not only disarms her, but takes her all the way to the ground in the process. In a flash, Lynn is flat on her back, panting to regain her breath. The point of Einar's staff is pressed against the base of her throat. All I have to do, he says, is lean forward, and you will never breathe again. Will you yield now? With no other option, Lynn nods. Throw your weapons aside, he orders. Another half-dozen blades are soon scattered on the grass. Only then does Einar remove the staff from her throat. He turns to give Sophia a wink. Her captivity and Lynn's reign of terror have come to an end. It is a tiny opportunity Einar gives her, but Lynn takes advantage of it. Quick as a whip, she reaches to her ankle. The blade hidden there, unbeknownst to either Sophia or Einar, flashes in the light of the gray morning as she hurls it at the unsuspecting man. Sophia shouts, trying to warn him. She is almost successful. Einar dives aside. The blade, intended for more vital organs, lodges itself into his upper arm. He screams in pain as he hits the ground. Most unfortunately, he has lost his staff. By the time Einar twists himself into a seated position, Lynn has recovered one of her curved swords. She advances, a dark, satisfied sneer curling her upper lip. You yielded, Einar cries, gritting his teeth against the pain. We had an agreement. Lynn shakes her head and says, Fulfilling my destiny and becoming the Empress of Time is worth 1 or 2 or 100 broken agreements. And now it is time for you to meet your destiny, relic or not. She raises the blade high. In a moment, her arm will drop and the death blow will come. Einar closes his eyes, ready to accept his fate with dignity. Stop it, Lynn! Sophia cries out at the top of her lungs. Lynn glances at her angrily. At once, her pale face grows even paler, and she lowers her sword. The pistol in Sophia's trembling hand is aimed directly at her head. Let him go, the girl shouts, jabbing the gun at Lynn for emphasis. Let him go, or I'll do what I should have done before. I'll shoot you, Lynn. There's a brief pause. Then the wicked grin curls Lynn's lip again, and she says, No, I do not think so. You see, I know you, Sophia. You are the girl who will not kill unless she has no other choice. You are the girl who is too weak to do what must be done. But if you are going to shoot me, you had better do it. I have had enough of this man and his riddles. For a moment longer, Sophia holds the gun level with Lynn's head. Then her eyes drop, and the pistol falls limply to her side. She turns away, defeated and helpless. If you kill me, Einar says in his own defense, you will never find your relic. You will search and search for 100 years, but it will never be yours. Leaning toward him, Lynn growls, I will rip apart your lighthouse piece by piece. It may take some time, but I will find it. Do you truly think I would hide it there? Einar asks. Do you think I keep it under my pillow, like a little girl's diary? Look around you, Lynn. There are miles of cliffs and hills here. How long do you think it will take you to search all this? Lynn frowns. She glances around, then lowers the blade. Let me live, and the relic is yours, he says. I would gladly die and take the secret to the grave with me, if it meant keeping your hands off it. Unfortunately, I am not permitted to willingly let the relic's whereabouts die with me. It cannot be lost. So congratulations, Empress. You win. And what's to stop me from killing you once I have the relic? Asks Lynn. A fair question, replies Einar. You have already shown me that your word is as valuable as puffin droppings. But there is one thing you don't know about me. Before I was recruited to be an Immovable, I was a doctor. A surgeon, in fact. And how will that save you? It won't. Unless you also want to save the life of your friend. The one in the back of your vehicle. The one covered in blood. Lynn's eyes narrow, as she considers his offer. Everybody lives, Einar says, including your friend, and you walk away with the relic. Lynn nods. Agreed. She slides her sword back into its sheath. As if to demonstrate her control even further, she picks up Einar's staff and hurls it over the edge of the cliff. He struggles to his feet, wincing with pain and grabbing at the blade in his arm. My apologies. I wouldn't want to forget this, Lynn exclaims cruelly, before yanking the knife from his shoulder. Einar howls in agony. With his uninjured limb, he presses down on the wound, trying desperately to stem the flow of blood. Lynn wipes the bloody blade against her pants, then sheaths it at her side. I do hope I didn't hit any major arteries, she taunts. You had better hurry to that relic. The sooner I have it, the sooner you can patch yourself up. Turning to Sophia, she says, You stay here with Redbeard. As soon as I return with the relic, we will hand him over to the care of this supposed surgeon. Then you and I are leaving. You're not going to wait for him to get better? Sophia asks incredulously. Once again, Lynn's inhumanity seems to know no bounds. You're going to abandon him here, too? A wave of genuine regret washes over Lynn's face as she says, It may be weeks or months before Redbeard has recovered enough to travel. By then it will be winter, and we would be stuck here. She pauses and sighs. The relics will not wait, so neither can we. Lynn's moment of hesitation ends as soon as it begins. She sets her jaw with cold and steely resolve as she viciously shoves Einar's injured shoulder. Lead the way, old man,